Ring was originally published in 1991. It went on to be a famous book trilogy and then was made into a series of Japanese films and then later turned into a series of American films. And that's when I first found out about the film The Ring. The American version is the one that I watched. And so then I wanted to read the book. So I found the book in a charity shop just by luck. And I decided that I was going to read it. It was the original Japanese book translated into English. And at the time, after I read it, I gave it a good review on the channel. I said I enjoyed it. And now it's been like quite a few years since I read it. But the book has also haunted me. There is a scene in the book that has haunted me. And then there is someone telling someone something in a different scene that has also equally haunted me. So I wanted to do a book review on The Ring because I never gave it its own book review at the time. I think I said I thought it was okay. I had a bit of a problem with this scene, which I'm going to go into in a minute. And that was kind of it. But it did have scary moments within it. And obviously, if you're reading that book, you're looking for a horror. So you want to be scared, horrified in some kind of way. So what the book is about, it's about a man who his niece dies. But his niece and two other teenagers all die at the same time in odd circumstances. And he wants to find out if their deaths are in some way related. And he is a reporter. So he decides to put his reporter skills to the test and turn detective. And he finds out that they stayed at a lodge a week before all three of them died in mysterious circumstances. So he goes to the lodge to see if he can see any kind of clue there. And in the lodge that they stayed in, there is an unmarked videotape. And he's thinking maybe they watched this videotape. So he watches it. And the videotape is a series of black and white images. And it all doesn't really make sense to him. It's just all very odd. He then gives it to his friend, who is a professor, and it says, "Can you help me with this?" And his friend looks through the tape and he's trying to work out how was this filmed. And he can't quite work out how this was filmed. What kind of camera was it filmed on? And then I'm sure you know the story of The Ring. It goes on and he's investigating it all. And he comes home one night and sees that his wife and their infant daughter has watched the videotape. And so he's completely freaked out by that. And by this point, he has realised that it's the videotape. People watch it before they die. And so worried for his wife and his infant daughter, that's when he really decides, I need to find out exactly who made this videotape? What is this videotape? Who is the woman in the videotape? I need to track down all of that instead of it just being a story of he's trying to find out what happened to his niece and maybe it could be this tape. All of a sudden the book takes an urgent turn and he needs to save the life of his wife and daughter because they have watched the tape. So that is the premise of the book. I enjoyed the book, but there were two scenes within it which genuinely play on my mind and horrify me all these years later. So you read the book and you think, there are frightening elements within it. Okay, and that's it. And then some things just play on your mind. And I think that's what makes a great horror in some ways, is that it truly haunts you in that way. So the two scenes are, there is one scene when he's talking to his friend who is a successful professor. Our main character is a successful journalist. And there are two men talking to each other. They've known each other for a long time. And then the professor decides to confess something to him, completely out of the blue. He just decides to confess and just say to his friend, there was a time when there was this woman moving house and I saw that her front door was open. And so I went in, attacked her and left. And I've never been brought to justice for that. They never found me for that. I don't know if she even went to the police and told anyone what I had done to her in the inside of her apartment. But that is something that happened in my life. And it's such an odd scene within the whole thing. And I think at the time I just felt very confused by it. I was thinking, but we were liking this character of the professor, who's our main character's best friend. And what an odd thing to just tell your friend. But then it haunts you because you think, well, what happened to the woman? What actually happened in that apartment? And why didn't she go to the police? Could she not go to the police? What happened? And the most horrifying part of it is that he was brought to no justice for it. And how many times has he done this? We don't know. We only have his word for it that he did it once, and that we think of people who do terrible things like that as we would look at them and just know they're evil. We would just sense it within them that something's not right with them. But he's such a normal character within the book, and the rest of his life has been so normal that it just doesn't make sense that he would do something like that. And that's truly horrifying, that people who look very normal to us and act very normal, and they're people that we could know and have within our lives, we have no idea that actually they're evil, and they are capable of such evil things, and we have no idea. And that's life. That's true. If you watch like true crime things, a lot of people in it, they're just normal. It was a normal man, married, kids, very normal life, and then committed these horrific acts which don't align with who he was publicly to everyone within his community. That is truly horrifying. Not a monster in a mask and someone who you can see something's not right with them or their behavior is showing it. Not that person, because that person you can know to kind of stay away from. But actually the truly horrifying people around us are the ones that just blend in with us. And I think that's the point from The Ring. And I don't think I got it at the time. I think I was unfair and I didn't get it, that is the truly horrifying thing among us. That the girl in the videotape with the like hair over her face, you can tell something's eerie about that, something's wrong with that, when actually the true scary people around us are the professor, who seems completely normal but has done this absolutely disturbing thing within his past that no one knows about. So actually, I think that scene is a lot deeper than I gave it credit for at the time that I really realised. The other scene is the man is just changing his baby, and then there are these masks on the wall. And he's just changing his baby, and then all of a sudden when he looks at the mask, he sees someone's face. You have this idea that he almost sees eyes through the mask, that he sees something, and the way that is written is terrifying. I don't know why. Still to this day, I think about that scene and I can't bear masks. Any kind of masks on the wall, I'm like, oh no. You know, it's like a full face mask. I made one as a child out of clay at school, and my parents have it in their garden, and I always, when I look at it, I always think, oh no, The Ring. That's all I can think. Is imagine if I looked at that mask one day and it had real human eyes looking at me, and then I looked at it again and there was nothing. How horrifying that would be. And it's just really well written, that scene. And so I think I'm going to read on with the trilogy. At the time, I think I said it was okay. I didn't like the scene about the man's confession. I didn't understand why it was put in the book. I thought it was kind of a cheap thing to put into the book. But now that years have passed and the book has haunted me, I realised that, no, I think that had a deeper meaning, that scene actually. And that's why it was put in there, because a lot of it is very visual. The haunting is very visual. And this woman in the videotape, it all looks like something's wrong. It's all quite in your face. Whereas maybe the author wanted to put something a lot more subtle within it, that, you know, evil, horrifying acts can be done by people who are sitting across the dinner table to you and you have no idea that they're capable of. So I just wanted to give it its own book review, because I do think that book has really, really stayed with me. And there's so many books when, you know, you read them and then you want to talk about them and you give them their own video review. And then, or you might, if you do Goodreads, you might write a full review on Goodreads and you've written notes and you want people to know your thoughts on it. But then if someone asked you questions about that book years later, then you wouldn't really remember much of it. Or you just, it's very much, it didn't impact your life in any kind of way, but it was an enjoyable read. Whereas I think books that really haunt, you can never know that after you've finished reading it. You can never know what books are going to stay with you and what books aren't. Because there are books that I've read that I've absolutely loved and that I probably thought would really stay with me, and I'd remember every scene within it because I loved every scene within the book. But years later, I can't really remember much of them, but I know that I liked the book at the time of reading it. And then there are other books where you think haven't left an impact within you, and then they're haunting you and you want them out of your brain, and you're thinking, God, that really was a true horror, that I can't stop thinking about this book all the time. So I'm going to end this video here. I think I'm going to do more videos like this where I just reflect upon books that I read years prior that I never gave their own video reviews of. I just had a book review of their book within other books. And I think also beyond the Ring, I think I really didn't like The Ring. I think I thought the scene with the confession was really cheap and I didn't like it at all. And that kind of clouded my judgment of the whole book. So it'd be so interesting to now reread the whole book and get my thoughts again on it. Because I feel there are certain books that you're never going to reread that you just didn't get along with. But then there are other ones that maybe the reason you didn't like them is because something in them really got under your skin. And maybe there was just something about that scene or character that did actually mean something to you. And you can still hate the book, but it haunts you. It kind of lives within you, that thing. And it has more meaning than you thought it did. And that's why it's stayed with you all these years later, over all the books that I've read and all the books that I have really enjoyed since reading that book. I can't believe that I know those two scenes. So I can see them. And when you read, I find reading quite visual. I feel like when I read, I can see it playing out like a movie, all the scenes and everything that's happening. And those two scenes, I feel like I've seen them in a film, even though I haven't seen those scenes in a film. I've never seen the original Japanese films, and the, of course, American remakes are nothing like that. It's not a male journalist and his professor friend trying to find out what happened. So I've never seen that in a film format, and yet in my mind, I've watched it. I've watched it over and over again, those two scenes. It's really so vivid. And that must be also the writing, that the writing must be so good that I could picture it so clearly in my mind. I'm going to end this video here. I'm doing a video every day. God knows what we're going to get, but every day in October. And I would like to do more reflections, talk more about books that really stuck with me and what maybe life lessons I learned from them, or what scenes within them really kind of got to me and live haunting my brain. So I'm going to end this video here, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another HANOWEEN video.